It's right up there, and the UK is particularly important in our research portfolio in the clinical pharmacology space, which is really the cutting edge of clinical trials, where we conduct first-in-human clinical trials on experimental medicines. For many decades, we've actually had a presence here in Leeds in the north of England, and we've maintained that presence with our brand new clinic, which replaces our old one that was ready to retire. The rest of our clinics are in America. So we see the UK as a very important place to do clinical research for the foreseeable future. There are a lot of things with clinical research in general, and then with clinical pharmacology, where we're actually doing trials, first-in-human trials, for example. There are even more considerations. I think primarily we're looking for places with infrastructure for the intellectual side of the business, as well as supply chain and our research volunteers. So transportation is important, supply chain is important, but almost equally important is there a proper academic infrastructure? We have a lot of partnerships that are win-win on behalf of universities and ourselves, where we have staff going back and forth. I think that improves the quality of research in general. So we're really looking at highly developed areas with proper academic and other infrastructure. The pandemic itself really opened some new pages in the life sciences, and for many companies, it was a boon. I mean, if you were a company that was involved in antiviral or vaccine research, it was quite a boon. On the other hand, there were other therapeutic areas in terms of drug development that were really put on hold for quite a while. Now we see the recovery, and we see sort of a new normal that's blossomed, and it is certainly the case that for our company, and I think many others as well, the hybrid workforce has really become the new norm. Part of our business, we require people on sites. We're doing clinical trials in person. We can't draw blood virtually. We can't lay hands on virtually. So some of it, by its very nature, requires that on-site presence. But for many of our workers who are involved in other aspects of clinical trials, whether it's the data management or the biostatistics, the project management, these things can all be remote. What we've really learned is that ideally, in our new facility here in Leeds, we have the ability to really optimize that experience, where people have the opportunity to come in, collaborate, be amongst their colleagues. That's a rich environment, and we like that. There's a lot of positive effects for the company as well as for the individuals, but it also allows that flexibility for them to remain home-based for periods of time, really at their convenience. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, and I think that's where we are in the post-pandemic state. The environments are quite different. I would say in America, we have a super competitive environment among life sciences, but not exclusively so. And I think that if you look at the San Francisco Bay Area or the Boston, Cambridge area, it's hard to throw a rock without hitting a few biotech companies. And so they're fiercely competitive with one another. And yet over time, what you see is that having this highly skilled, highly experienced workforce, over time, it becomes collaborative, even though everything is competitive. And so if, for example, when I visit with companies in the Bay Area, I often ask at a table, how many of you were at one time with either Genentech or Gilead, two of the real pioneers in the biotech industry. And about 3/4 of the hands go up. And so it's just that cross-fertilization of that rich environment with the academic medical centers there as well. There's this constant flow of talent and information. And so it's hard to really draw the line between competitive and collaborative. I think by its nature, the UK is more collaborative in nature. I think you have the NHS trusts and the universities, and I think that interaction with life sciences company is more fluid, more dynamic, and more collaborative than in America, where it's more fiercely competitive. But at the end of the day, when you look at results in terms of clinical research, we find both environments, perfectly terrific at delivering high quality results.